So in the last big update we have received the X-ray and the armor inspection module. I personally find the features added very good and extremely useful. So useful in fact that I will have to redo almost all of the gameplay guide videos that I've done for the vehicles in this game, just because the armor inspection is something that is extremely important, and I kind of wanted to be as accurate as I can while I review these vehicles. So I'll start with the AL-Khalid-I main battle tank. Now this is one of the more recent vehicles that have been added to the game, and I decided to start with this vehicle because personally I find this thing rather interesting in combat. Now, we can see that this tank does have a lot of explosive reactive armor, and I personally find the armor inspection module to be particularly important because it basically shows you where to aim at the vehicle. Now, obviously, this vehicle does have a very big lower plate weak spot and does have composite armor, does have a very tough turret. But the composite armor is not present in the lower plate, which we will see once we go to the X-ray. But overall, a highly detailed model, and I love how the game does tell you everything that's on the tank. Oh, there are weak spots, but the main weak spot on this particular vehicle is definitely in the lower plate. The upper plate is tough, it has composite armor. The turret is also tough from the front, but around the main cannon and around certain parts from the side you basically can bypass the composite armor, you can bypass all the tough parts. And since this vehicle does have an autoloader which is located below the turret, as we will see in a moment, it's actually very easy to disable this tank, and it's very easy to make the turret of this thing fly off. But yeah, overall, it is a decently armored tank, very good maneuverability. Obviously the side and rear armor will be the weakest armor, but you are not meant to take hits from the side and from the rear. All of these more modern vehicles are definitely meant to take hits from the front. If you get hit from the side, well, it's boom tank pretty much. But overall, you do see some tough parts, you do see some of the more weaker parts, but overall the more fun part starts on the X-ray. Now, as we can see here, you can see the composite armor on the upper frontal plate, which is very decent, and most shells that hit this part will fly off, will not penetrate, and in most cases they will fail to go inside of the vehicle. But look at the lower plate, or where should I say where the lower plate is located, around the driver. You can pretty much bypass the composite armor if you aim below, and it will basically, the shell will fly between the legs of the driver and will fly right at the ammo of this vehicle. A nearly guaranteed ammo rack hit, and basically almost a guaranteed destruction of the vehicle if it gets hit. Now the turret composite is also quite tough, and besides the composite armor, the overall explosive reactive armor does have some kinetic properties, but primarily it does offer some excellent protection against chemical shells, ATGMs, heat-based shells, stuff like that. But it does also offer some thickness against kinetic shells, APFSDS shells and similar. So all of that does add more to the overall thickness of the armor. So overall, a heavily armored frontal turret and a heavily armored frontal plate on the front end of the tank. Now, on the side armor, we see that it doesn't have any composite on the side of the vehicle. The turret armor also lacks composite as the front of the turret, but you do get some explosive reactive armor that can offer some protection. But side turret and side armor is very vulnerable and very easy to ammo rack the vehicle, very easy to disable the vehicle from the side. So Uh, when I look at the vehicle from this angle and when I look at the vehicle through the X-ray, I don't really think that this tank is particularly overpowered, because honestly, when you look at the X-ray and you understand the anatomy of the vehicle, you do understand that, you start to understand that, you know, it's all about where you aim, basically. And this vehicle, while I personally enjoy it, I wouldn't really necessarily call this vehicle overpowered or pay to win, because pretty much has the same weak spot, same weak spot, as you can see on some of the parts of the turret, primarily where the smoke stack is located, where the smoke launcher is located. You don't really have a lot of armor there as well, so definitely have a lot of easy entry points where to launch the shell into the vehicle in order to do damage to it. Now the firepower is definitely decent, has a very powerful main cannon and some decent penetration. This is a tier 10 vehicle, although if it were a tier 11 I don't think it would change much really. You will still end up fighting tier 10 and tier 11 vehicles, so the current tier isn't really doing much for the vehicle. Tier lower or tier higher, at the end of the day it will still perform generally the same. Now, it does have a commander override. As we can see here, my gunner got blown to bits, but I was still able to rotate it there because the commander was in charge. And overall, the good thing about this vehicle is definitely its maneuverability and overall armor. While not the best, I personally feel like the M1A1 HC has overall much better armor than this thing. And when I say much better armor, the M1A1 HC has composite all over the turret, for example, except the rear, and overall has a very thick frontal turret, very thick frontal armor as well. I feel like the composite on the lower plates on the M1A1 is definitely, I would say, better than what we see on this particular vehicle, even though you would still aim at the lower plate on the M1A1 to disable the vehicle, because the lower plate is unfortunately made at such an angle it just makes it obvious to aim there. On this vehicle, I feel like the lower plate situation is much worse, because on the lower plate you basically just have classic armor, you don't have any composite armor, and the shells just fly right in. So, and obviously the side armor is not particularly strong as well, which means that you can't really use the, I mean, you can use the vehicle in a more aggressive way. You can definitely drive it a bit more aggressively if you like, but from my experience it definitely works, I would say, a lot better if you play a lot more tactical with the vehicle. You have an outload, you have a very powerful main cannon, and you do have a lot of maneuverability. And overall, the best, I would say in my case, the best part that I like about this vehicle is definitely the speed. Reverse speed is probably the best that we see in top tier, I would say. Well, maybe not the best. There are some vehicles that are definitely faster in reverse, but for the vehicle in this category is definitely some very good reverse speed, very usable, and definitely will be able to get you out of trouble. If it comes to that, it will definitely work wonders. Now I have a question. Why have all the last 3 tanks, why did they just rush? None of these vehicles even bothered to look my way, which is kind of weird. And we have a sneaky one. Well, we had a sneaky one there. But overall, I'm personally quite happy with this particular vehicle. It's enjoyable. Is it the best in top tier? No. I feel like if we compare this vehicle to the T72 AV, the AV kind of, I feel like the T72 AV feels like more effective with its main cannon. I don't know why, and I say I don't know why because the T72AV has literally no reverse. This reverse speed on this thing is phenomenal. But I think I enjoyed the T72AV a little bit more than this thing. I can't really explain why. There's something about the T72AV that feels unique about that vehicle. Even though this vehicle should technically be much better than the T72AV. But at the same time, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what tank you're driving. It matters the way you're using it. And all of the vehicles that I play, that I show here, are definitely good vehicles. I personally enjoy all of them. Well, capturing the base. I actually had a very good battle last time, which is pretty funny. I had the same map like twice, and on both occasions I actually did really well. Although I think in the battle that I've had last time I done a little bit better in that case. I think I had a bit more destroyed vehicles and overall better score, but you know, pretty close. I would say it was pretty close. And all in all, the AL-Khalid-I is definitely a very interesting vehicle, definitely a powerful main battle tank. And overall, with the addition of the X-ray and with the addition of the armor inspection module, I would say that players will definitely have a chance to learn a lot better where and how to disable all of these newer vehicles. Obviously, I think I will actually start to cover the more problematic vehicles like the Merkava. I call them problematic because a lot of players seem to struggle with these vehicles, so I will definitely look at these vehicles next, just to show you the weak spots, the close-up X-ray armor inspection and stuff like that, because I feel like that is going to be very helpful. But with that being said, we are nearing the end of the video. That is going to be all for the AL-Khalid for today. Obviously, I will be playing this vehicle a lot more. You can expect a lot more gameplay videos for this vehicle, but for now, that would be it for the AL-Khalid-I. Definitely a very powerful main battle tank. Overall, a very interesting vehicle, and does have a tough frontal turret armor, tough frontal plates, and a very good cannon with some phenomenal maneuverability. And well, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe. As always, I'll see you next time.